Hello and welcome back. I'm out enjoying the summer here. Today I would like to talk about the lens that is on my camera right now, the Sony 16-35 2.8 G Master lens. And I would like to give my 3 reasons why this is my favorite lens. I have had the pleasure now to have owned this lens for about 1.5 years, and about 90 to 95% of all of my content has been produced with this lens. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so the Sony 16-35mm f2.8 G Master lens is a lens that I wanted to buy for a long time. And why? Well, I do really like the wide look. The wide look that you can get with this lens, both for photography but also mainly for video. And then of course a G Master lens is a G Master lens, and having an interest for photo and video for quite a few years, I have been watching the G Master lenses for quite some time, but as you know, they're also quite expensive. But I managed to find a used one that still was in a very good condition, and the price was about $1,100 US, which is more than half the price of a new lens. So then I thought it would be worth it. So I pulled the trigger, and during these 1.5 years I have really enjoyed this lens. And I feel like it has met my high expectations that I had on it. So that's why I'm now going to list the 3 reasons why this is my favorite lens. Starting with the quality. Before buying this G Master lens, my go-to lens and my main workhorse was the 28-75mm f2.8 lens from Tamron. This was the first version of this lens, and I bought it in 2019, and I really enjoyed the Tamron. It was a great lens, and yeah, of course it's not fair really to compare a 16-35 to then a 28-75 lens. I mean, one could argue that it would be great to have both those lenses, because they could complement each other really well and be used for different things, for sure. But still, that's what I did. I sold my Tamron and I got the Sony G Master lens. And I will say that, of course, I noticed quite of a difference there between these lenses. So, of course, the Sony G Master lens, which is the high-end lens from Sony, felt more premium in many different ways. You have the material, it didn't feel as plastic as the Tamron. And you had some nice metal materials there, and just the overall use of the lens was something else. Holding the Tamron lens upside down will cause it to, fall down, and it didn't stick in place. It went for, if I had set it on like 35mm and I hold it upside down, it would go all the way down to 75mm, whereas with the Sony lens, holding it upside down, it keeps in place and it just feels more reliable, I would say. So you have the material and the premium feeling. So that is the quality of the lens itself. The sharpness and the autofocus with the G Master lens was just at another level. Even though the Tamron was also performing good, there was a difference. And you can even see on some of these example photos that I took that you have pretty good sharpness all over the picture. When shooting at 16mm, you might see some dark spots in the corners, but I think still at shooting with 60mm, it's sharp all over the picture. It's really fast, and it has never let me down. I feel like I can really trust this lens. And that is important when you are out doing shoots or doing photo or video job. You will need to have a lens that can perform and that you feel that you can trust. And this lens, I feel like it has really got the job done for me always. So I feel really happy with it in terms of the quality. There is nothing that I would complain about coming to the quality. So when it comes to the quality, this lens gets full point from me. I feel like this lens offers so much. It will be amazing if you mainly are shooting photos, and not the least if you're shooting video. It will perform great in so many different situations, Doesn't matter if you're shooting photos or using it for filming, if you're shooting wide or if you're using it as a 35 millimeters. And personally, for me, even since 10 years back when I got my first GoPro camera, I have really been a fan of that wide GoPro look. Maybe that's not for everyone, but I feel like I really like that look. There were quite many situations that I felt like I really wanted that wide look, and I felt like the 28 millimeters from the Tamron, it just wasn't wide enough for me. So for example, right now filming this, I have the lens set at 20 millimeters, and I feel like that is kind of the sweet spot for me. If you're filming yourself or if you're talking in front of the camera, you will still have a lot of the background in the frame as well. But at the same time, you could also just set it at 35 millimeters, and that will be great for things like events or weddings, portraits. It's just so versatile. For me, I feel like a 16 to 35, I will have more use for that than the 28 to 75. And even though this is the first version of this lens, which is a bit larger than the newer second version of this lens, I still feel that it's not too big really. If you would compare this lens to a 16-35 from Canon, that one would be both bigger and heavier. So I do feel like this lens isn't too big. It's not too heavy and it doesn't take up too much space, which makes it versatile because you can bring it along with other lenses without having to worry about the weight and so on. But yeah, that is just my opinion, of course. This lens offers great value for the money, especially if you go for this first version of the lens. That is the version that I have. I mean, for around $1,100 as I think you're able to find this lens for that price, at least here in Sweden. Of course, that would be a used one. A new one would be about more than double the price still. If you can find a good one in good condition for around that $1,100, I think that's hard to beat. I don't think that you can have more lens for that kind of money, especially then comparing this one to the second version. I think, for me at least personally, it's hard to justify the price for the newer version of this lens, which I think here in Sweden goes for about $2,700 compared to a used one for the first version for around $1,100. A few hundred grams less and a little bit smaller size, and then some other things. I know that it's probably even better autofocus and even sharper, but I do think, at least from my understanding, the difference between those isn't huge, and for me that money for that other version, it isn't just worth it. So I think that if you're looking for the most value for your money, I think that this first version now, especially when the new version has come out to the market and the prices for the first version is even lower, I think that you can make a bargain, and I think that the first version is the way to go. And yeah, you could argue that this lens was, I think it was introduced in 2017 or something, so it is starting to get a bit old, so to say. But I mean, I just don't care, because it is still now in 2024 a great lens, and I personally plan to use mine for a long time. Regarding the quality, the versatility and the bang for the buck for this lens, those 3 points for me makes this my favorite lens. I just love using this. But I think like in the end it will all depends on what you plan to use this lens for. For me personally, if I would go back a few years, back to the time when I was mainly doing photography, I think that a 28 to 75 lens would have been better for me, because there were more situations where I wanted to be able to zoom in even more. But now when I'm mainly doing video, I feel like a 16 to 35 will be better for me. You can have both, but if I would have to choose and if I only could pick one, this is the lens for me, and this would be my choice. If you have any thoughts about this Sony G Master lens, if you have any thoughts about it, please don't hesitate to comment and let me know what you think. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you got some value out of this video. If you did, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Other than that, I wish you all the best. Please take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.